Welcome to the Live Out Loud Show. I'm your host, Brooke Thomas, and I'm so excited today. I'm in Palm Beach at the Colony Hotel, and I asked my cousin, who should I interview while I'm there? And she said, without question, I've got the girl. And I cannot wait for you to meet this woman. She is a powerhouse philanthropist, founder. Her name is Ashley, and we've already become fast friends, so I know that you're going to want to know her too. I cannot wait for you to get to know her more, what she's doing. You're going to hear more about her, I know, within my community. And I always say I want my people to know my people. So Ashley, welcome to the show. I cannot wait to get started. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. This is such an honor.
Well, thank you. I know. And this is how I feel like this is how my friendships develop, when I get to interview incredible women and I get to know their stories. And then I'm like, I want to be your friend. So I know we're already becoming friends. So
Absolutely.
Thank you for being here. And let's just get started right away. Okay. So Ashley, your passion for this work that we're going to talk about is deeply personal. You were actually adopted as an infant. We like to go deep fast here, so I hope you don't mind.
No, let's do it.
I want to go right there. So I know that you were adopted as a baby, and I just want you to take us back to the moment that you first realized that God was calling you to turn your personal testimony into a mission for children in foster care. This is so valuable, and I just want to start there.
Well, my adoption has always made me feel like I was given a second chance at life. And from an early age, my parents always made me feel like I was extra special because I was born from their heart. And I even remember them taking me to Georgia, to the Cabbage Patch Farm, and telling me that just like how I was picking out my baby doll, they picked me. So I always wanted to pay back my blessing of being adopted, and I thought that meant that I would adopt a child. But then there's my plan, and there's God's plan. And God's plan for what he had in store for me was much bigger than I had ever dreamt.
Oh, I love that. That's so crazy that you talked about the Cabbage Patch.
Yeah.
Like, I actually went there when I was really little too.
Same.
I remember that place. That's so
Mhm.
beautiful. I love that story. And it really touches my heart that we have so many women in our community that really have a heart for adoption. Just what you're doing is so beautiful. I know the name of your foundation. That was the first thing that when my cousin Janet told me about you, and she said, Brooke, you and Ashley are going to be friends. And her foundation is called Selfless Love. And I know that it has an interesting backstory. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So this is probably one of my most favorite stories. I was living in Los Angeles at the time. This is many moons before I met my husband. And I was walking in the grocery store when I saw a homeless man walk inside and just look at the hot food. And then he walked back out. And instantly I knew I was going to, of course, get this man some hot food. And as I was checking out, I also got him exactly 3 drinks. So I put my groceries away and I'm looking in the parking lot for the homeless man. And now he's in the corner with 3 homeless friends. So I walk up to him and I say, here you go, sir. Have a blessed day. And without even skipping a beat, he gave away his 3 drinks and he opened his food and he shared. And I got in my car and I cried my eyes out because I thought, how could somebody with so little be so selfless? And when I got home, I couldn't stop thinking about this homeless man. So I took a piece of paper and I wrote the words, selfless love, and I drew an S and a heart. And I knew it was going to be something one day. I just didn't know what.
Oh, I love that so much. Wow. So oftentimes people think that they have to wait to start building. And I know Selfless Love began around your kitchen table with your husband, Ed. And I want to know what those early days looked like. You know, maybe how you merged the vision, the faith, and business, and how you built that to a scalable organization. So many women that listen to this podcast, they have dreams. They think about things. They talk about things. But what I love is to talk to women that actually think about things, talk about things, but then they actually make it happen. So take us back to that table and just the journey and how long it's been and all the things.
So after dating my now husband for only 3 months, we were engaged and we were planning our wedding. And at the time, my husband, he was the CEO and president of Tequila Patron. And I had said to him, you know, we are incredibly blessed. There's nothing in the world we need. Why don't we start a nonprofit in lieu of wedding gifts? And the first thing he said is, no problem. I'll support you, but you have to do all the work. So obviously he didn't know me well. It was only 3 months. But no, he then said, what would the cause be? Like what would our mission be? And of course, since I was adopted, my passion is for getting other children adopted and giving them that same gift of a family. And coincidentally, I didn't even know this. My husband had also worked with children impacted by foster care, and his passion was for the older kids. He called them the lost kids because the older they are, the more likely they are to age out. So, just like we were merging our lives together, we merged our passions together, and Selfless Love Foundation was born.
Okay, so many questions first about the okay, you got married within 3 months of meeting your
We were
husband.
engaged.
Engaged
Engaged within 3
within
months.
3 months, okay,
Mhm.
and you said something about tequila Patron. You
Yes.
know what? Okay, so talk to me about that. I wanna know that story too.
So my husband, oh gosh, I swear is the most interesting man in the world. His dad was an original bootlegger, and he swore he would never go into the beverage alcohol industry. Fast forward, he sure did, and he took a job with a quote unquote at the time nobody tequila brand, and he took a major risk, and that's something that I'm very positive, very like it's very important to me. Like leap and the net will appear. And obviously it worked out for him. So he started with Patron when they were doing like 20,000 cases. And by the time that they sold Patron to Bacardi, they were doing close to 4 million cases.
Wow.
It was the most expensive brand to ever sell in the world in history. So it's pretty cool what can happen when you take a risk and just go for it.
So is he still part of that?
So when they sold Patron to Bacardi, he stopped working. He had a non-compete for 6 years, and coincidentally, the 6 years is up, and last year they launched Weber Ranch Vodka. I actually almost brought you some today, but I thought you were leaving tomorrow. So it's an agave-based vodka, 100%, and Weber is the best agave made in the world.
Wow.
So for it to be 100% agave, it's a stimulant.
Okay, yeah.
And yeah, you'll be able to check it out when we have lunch later. It'll
Oh,
be there.
wow, okay. Well, let's get that party started soon. I love just hearing about the business, but there is no coincidences. My husband also started in that industry, and his whole family was in that industry. Then he went into medical sales for like 25 years, but we have a lot in common with that.
We got to get the boys together to talk booze.
I know. I know, definitely. Okay, so back to like the really deep, good, selfless love. What you're doing is really impacting the world. It's literally changing the world. It's changing, when I believe you change a child's life, I mean, you change the world, literally. I mean, you change your community, you change everything. And so I want to talk about how when you look at how your life has evolved and all you've experienced, and you even competed in rodeos, okay? I want to get into a little bit about that, whatever you want to say about that, but I would have never guessed that. That's why I love interviewing. I'm like, I would have never guessed that. How do you feel like the skills that you gained in all of those diverse chapters prepared you to lead a multi-million-dollar nonprofit?
I love that you said chapters because I really do believe that our life is made up of different chapters, and it's important to view it as a resume, constantly trying to learn new skill sets and network with people. And part of my upbringing is I grew up extremely Southern on a dirt road in the middle of an orange grove, and rodeoing and 4-H was a massive part of my upbringing, and it taught me discipline, hard work, and just grit. And growing up, I actually had a moment that truly changed the trajectory of my life. I know that sounds so dramatic, but it actually did. Brace yourself. I was running for St. Lucie County Fair Queen. And when I went to stage to give my speech, I said my name. I said my name again. Everybody knew my name as I ran off stage, and it was so traumatic. It was so embarrassing. I felt like my entire hometown was there watching this. And I made that decision from that day moving forward. I was going to be the best public speaker, and I was going to enter every single public speaking contest I possibly could to get over this fear and never allow this happen again. And as a result of that obstacle that I was able to turn into an opportunity, I then went on to have a career as an MC for the NBA Memphis Grizzlies. I was an announcer for WWE, Worldwide Wrestling Entertainment. I went on to live in Los Angeles. I've opened shows for Jimmy Kimmel, and I was on Jay Leno. I mean, all of this was a result of me taking this negative thing that happened and able to turn it. From there, the next chapter was I started doing medical sales. And I'll never forget the person that owned the lab said, "Why on earth would I hire you? You have no sales experience and no background in anything medical." And I said, "Because I promise you, I will work harder than anybody you have ever hired before." And within 3 months, I was out producing their director of sales. And at 26, I actually got equity in the lab. So the reason I'm sharing all this with you is that, that same passion and hard work and discipline and grit, when you pour that into whatever you're passionate in, it's going to lead you exactly where you're supposed to go. So enjoy whatever moment or whatever timeline that you're currently in. Don't be rushing to get to the end goal, because for me, I would have never imagined what my ultimate calling was, which was Selfless Love Foundation.
Wow. Okay. You are so my kind of girl. So many things that you said. Now I'm getting to know why more and more we're connected. When you read my book, I have almost an identical story about the time when I had all of these opportunities to speak on stage. And I was always outgoing, so I thought, oh, this is no problem. And it's so crazy because I got awarded for something, and all I needed to do was get on the stage, say my name and where I was from. I'm like, no problem. And I might have had to say one other thing. I can't remember, because I literally got up there. My husband was on one side of me. My best friend was on the other. I had the microphone, and I don't know what happened to my body and my face, everything. I started shaking.
Oh,
And I couldn't even say my name. And everyone's staring at me. My face turned so red. I said my name, and then right before I said where I was from, like, I almost started to cry, and then I ran off the stage. So it's like almost a very similar story. And I remember going into a bathroom, and my best friend followed me in there, and I thought that she was going to feel so bad for me. But instead she was like, "What is wrong with you? What did you just do?" I'm like, "I don't know." And I was so embarrassed and so humiliated. And I said, "I will never speak again. I don't know what happened. I thought I was outgoing. This should be no problem. I thought I was like, could easily speak." And she's like, "No, you're going to speak. This is what you're supposed to do." And I was like, "No." So then I got another opportunity. I wish I could say, "Oh, it was great." The second opportunity I got, I had like this huge crowd. I had practiced. I was like, okay, I'm going to, it was like 10 minutes that I had an opportunity. I was like, okay, I'm going to take it. I'm going to be great. Practice by myself, get up there. I mean, it was the most humiliating experience. I was shaking, crying. I said like all the time. I probably still do that, but it doesn't bother me anymore. But, I was saying all of these things and stuttering. It was awful. And people were pointing and laughing at me, like neighbors. I mean, it was like my own community.
That's awful.
And I remember leaving that night saying, I will never speak again, ever, ever, ever. And then God kind of woke me up and was like, seriously, you're meant to talk. And so but I did the similar thing to you. I was like, I'm going to skill up in this area. And I ended up getting a coach to teach me. And I was like, but I know how to talk. I've never been shy, but it was very different. And the one thing that he told me, he's like, you are such a people pleaser, that the reason why you're having such a hard time is when you're in front of somebody one-on-one, you can please them. Like, how to give them what they need. Like, this is how you were raised. This is what you know to do. And I'm like, I am not. And I'm like, okay, I am. At the time, this is like 15, 18 years ago. And then he said, but when you're on a stage or you're with a group of people, it's like your body doesn't even know what to do because you don't know how to like please the whole crowd. And so he's like, you have to think, there were so many things he taught me, which I'm sure and I just learned how to really, again, it took me a lot longer. And I feel like I learned so much about myself through the journey, and so much about just my faith and what I was really doing. And I always said, who's on the other side of my obedience to do what I'm called to do? It's not about me. It's about what I'm meant to do for somebody else by speaking out.
I love that.
And that changed everything. So when you said that, I was like, and I love that you also talked about just, living just more of a victorious life instead of being a victim. I don't know what did you say, the exact statement you said about?
Letting obstacles become opportunities.
Yes, I love that. I love when, yes. I
Because
love
that's when you grow. If everything's
Yes.
going great,
Yes.
you have nothing to learn.
No, of
But when
course.
something goes bad,
Mhm.
those are the best moments to actually learn something and
Mhm.
figure out, ways to improve.
Yes.
The public speaking is so important. It's a life skill, and it is. It's one of the people are more scared of getting on stage than what they are swimming with sharks, as studies have shown.
I know.
So that's why it's part of selfless love. I wanted to be able to weave in public speaking for our youth that have aged out of foster care. So they don't have an opportunity to get on a stage and speak and share their dreams. So we actually created this program. It's called the Dream Tank. And what it is, it's literally 9 months, 150 training hours that includes media training, public speaking. And we help them with their speech. They prepare it. They then have rehearsals with child welfare leaders and other youth with lived experience. And then the night before a gala, they go on stage and they present their dreams to a panel of judges, and we announce the winner the next night. But really, there's no winner because no matter how many times their dreams are going to change, this life skill is going to
Mhm.
stay with them forever.
Yes.
So, and even today, I still take media training. It is, like you said, you skill up. If
Mhm.
you want to be really good at something and you want to master something, there's always more to learn.
Always. Yes. And I love that. I love what you're doing, and you should be so proud of that. And
Thank you.
speaking of being proud, I want to know what you're the most proud of in terms of how the foundation is making an impact in the lives of these children and families.
Hands down, and you actually kind of hit on this earlier, I am most proud of the generational impact that we're making. So when we get a child adopted, and by the way, we are helping the most vulnerable children in foster care. We are often their last chance at a family. They're teenagers, sibling groups. We're even helping to find families for 17-year-olds. So when we give that gift of a family to a child, or we're providing resources to youth that have aged out at 18 and they have no family and no support, we're not just changing their life. We're changing their children's life and their grandchildren's life and generations after that.
Wow. I know in the foster care system, there's so many heartbreaking stories. What keeps you going on the hard days?
There are days that are absolutely hard, but it's just having faith and also knowing that we are trying to solve one of society's greatest problems. And yes, I'm saying society's greatest problems. This is not just a foster care issue. The root of homelessness, poverty, addiction, incarceration, it stems from these kids aging out of foster care with no one there to support them and help them. I truly do believe that this is a solvable problem, but it takes all of us coming together. Collaboration is transformation. So opportunities like today to be on this Live Out Loud podcast and to meet your community, I welcome you to join our Selfless Love family.
Yes, we will. We will. I promise. We have so many women that have a heart for this, and that's why I was so excited to get you on this podcast as soon as possible, so that my community could learn more about this and know more about it. And I believe that relationship equity is the best equity. I know that we're coming into a season. I really believe the world has been primed and just everyone talks about the economy and they talk about, different things that are going on. And I don't buy into any of it. I buy into the trust economy. And this really is a trust relationship economy. And I think that anything is possible if you surround yourself with the right people, with
No
the right
question.
heart, and everything is possible. I don't, again, I surround myself with people that actually make change happen and make moves and make bold moves. And together we can do so much. So I don't really, again, buy into like if something has, if something's not doing well, it's just like, okay, it's time to pivot. Like
Yeah.
what can we do differently? What other problem can we solve? Who else can we partner with? There's always opportunities everywhere.
Yes.
So that's why I love talking about, who we can help, because the more you help and serve, you will find out. Sometimes people are like, well, I don't even know what to do anymore because this part of my business fell apart, or because of the recession or because of the economy, I can't do this anymore. I'm like, well, and people don't know what to do. And sometimes I'm like, the best thing you can do is go serve, go find who you can serve. And usually your skills will come out in that area and you'll find another opportunity. There's opportunities everywhere.
No question.
And so, again, I talk about relationships a lot. In my book, there's 12 different chapters and they're all activation chapters because we have to be living. This is why I wanted to bring this conversation on this podcast too, because I think when you don't live fully awake, like we have to be living fully awake to then become activated inside. We all have gifts inside of us to activate what it is that we're supposed to do. But if you're not awake to the problems or awake to the opportunities, then it's hard to like activate what you need to make things happen, right? To make bold moves. I talk about activation, activating relationships intentionally in my book. And so I wanted to ask you, in this nonprofit space, you've got to build meaningful relationships and you've got to be able to really paint a picture to touch the hearts of people so then they can open up, their hearts, their minds, their pocketbooks. Because I do believe if we increase our income, we should increase our impact. And I always say, listen, we all love nice things. We all love a nice life. But at some point, you get to a point where you're like, the overflow that we all have access to having should go to places that we can actually leave a legacy. And I know that's what you and your husband are doing. And it's so beautiful. So what are the practices or mindsets that have really helped cultivate purpose-driven connections for you?
So my adopted parents, they taught me a lot. But maybe the most important life skill that they taught me was my dad. And he said, never meet a stranger. And what he meant by that is never miss the opportunity to meet somebody new, cultivate a relationship, learn from them, and network. And I cannot tell you how many people I've grown relationships with and even booked jobs through as a result of flying. Yes, flying is my favorite place to network. Maybe because the person sitting next to me is stuck there like hostage for the next hour or so. One example, a gentleman had a concert he was about to put on, and I said, "Oh, have you hired any host yet?" And he's like, "Actually, I haven't." Fast forward 3 months later, I'm introducing country music stars in front of 3,000 people. That would have never happened if I would have fell asleep. And instead, I always just try to learn the person next to me because everybody has an interesting story and we all have something to learn from one another.
I love that. I always say, so in my network, in the mastermind, we have women that are 29 all the way to 67. And I love that because I'm like, I could learn from a 5-year-old. I could learn from an 85-year-old.
Absolutely.
Whoever God puts in front of me, I'm always like leaning in, listening, being curious because you never know who that person knows or has access to or what they need that you can provide or what you could just learn from a conversation. So I love that because nobody is taken off the table. It's always that, that old saying, like, don't judge a book by its cover.
Oh, 100%.
You never know,
100%.
why you're in front of that person. As an incredible female founder, what advice would you give to other women birthing mission-driven organizations?
Well, I love that you said birthing because anytime you have a business, whether it's for-profit or nonprofit, it is like having a child and it requires full attention 24/7. So starting your own nonprofit is not for the faint of hearts. I personally think it's much harder than having a for-profit because you don't have a good or a service that you're selling, especially during the early days, early years. It's a vision. It's a dream. So you don't have to have your own to make a lasting impact. I really recommend that first start volunteering or working with a nonprofit that you're interested in. And then once you go through that due diligence and you see and you learn, you can make that decision if you want to have your own. I will just tell you, I work 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I am a volunteer CEO. And being completely transparent, as I said, selfless love is like having a child. Just like children, it causes conflict in your relationship. My husband is incredibly supportive. It is the thing that bonded us and started our relationship. But sometimes our baby, aka selfless love, has to take priority over myself, over our relationship. And yeah, it can be difficult. But with all that being said, I wouldn't change it for anything. It's not hard work, it's heart work. And once you do your due diligence, if you still decide that you want to have your own nonprofit, leap and the net will appear. Go for it. Have faith. I can assure you it will be the most difficult thing you've ever done, but also the most rewarding.
I love that so much. I know I completely agree. And I know that listeners of this show are bold women who want practical action steps. So, what insight can you share to women that want to lead with greater purpose, generosity, right where they're at?
There are so many incredible organizations out there. First, figure out what your passion is. Do you have someone in your family that was impacted by breast cancer or a veteran, or do you really want to give that gift of family to other children? So once you identify different causes that you're interested in and narrow them down to 2 or 3, I really recommend you going to Candid or Charity Navigator, which they actually evaluate and score other nonprofits for their financial transparency and their impact. And I am incredibly proud to share Selfless Love has received perfect scores, 4 out of 4, 100%, which is incredibly difficult to do. So again, make sure you do that research. And then finally, there is a really great book, and it is called The Everyday Philanthropist by Dan Pallotta. And he actually talks about finding your charity for life. Because if you were to tally up your lifelong contributions, you're going to make a way bigger impact by supporting one organization than by putting it out and spreading the love to a dozen plus other, nonprofits. So really, by doing that, you're creating your own legacy. So again, you don't have to have your own nonprofit to still leave a legacy behind of helping others.
I love that so much. I love that. Okay, Ashley, we always pray for breakthrough in my community. And I just want you to know, first of all, I'm going to be praying for selfless love. I'm going to be praying for you, these children. It's an honor and a privilege to know you and to pray for that. So as far as breakthrough, what breakthroughs do you envision in the child welfare landscape in the next 10 years? And how can our Live Out Loud community join you in making that vision a reality?
So when I hear the words breakthrough, I think about our policy work. So it's one thing to give the gift of family to children in foster care and help these kids that are aging out. But if you really want to move the needle, if you really want to transform the system, it has to be done through policy change. And just one example of this, right here in the state of Florida, a couple months ago, we had a law that was passed that now protects photos of children available for adoption being put on public websites. I know this is hard to believe, but children actually came to us saying they felt like animals on display and wanted our help shutting down the puppy store. So after advocating for 2 years, Florida is leading the nation thanks to the secure photo listing law. And now we have a national network of about 40 states with child welfare leaders and experts, and we're all coming together in October at a national think tank that we're hosting so that we can work together to get this law passed federally. So the first and foremost, the thing that the Live Out Loud community could do is please pray for us, be our prayer warriors. We are trying to push a massive boulder up a mountain. But again, by collaborating with one another, we can do that. There's so many other ways you can get involved. Please check out our social media and even our website, selflesslovefoundation.org. We are currently having a furniture campaign where you can purchase furniture for young adults that are living at Browns Harbor and help make their apartment a home.
I love that so much. We'll have all of this in the show notes because I know we have such a generous community. And I love when you told me about the furniture because it's something tangible that we can purchase and we can feel really good about. It just gives me Holy Spirit goosebumps right now. Okay, so I'm going to end today with just 2 final questions.
Let's do it.
So you seem like a really bold woman already. I mean, everything that you've done, everything that you continue to do, I just want to, again, say how nice it is to just know you and a privilege to really be around you. I love bold women of faith and that take action to make an impact. So if you were 10 times more bold, though, like today, if I could say, okay, Ashley, you're bold, but I'm putting 10 times more boldness on you, if that's even a word. But seriously, what would you do right now today if you were 10 times more bold?
Everything we're doing right now is in preparation for our national expansion. So we officially have boots on the ground in Texas. We just partnered with 2 additional supportive housing We're already doing work in Iowa. And as I mentioned, we have our national network. We are rolling out a replication manual for our work so that we can partner with other states. So more money is more we can do with the mission. So, we're 100% philanthropically funded. That is very unique for a nonprofit. We receive zero government funding. And that's actually a good thing because there's no bureaucracy, there's no red tape. We can quickly identify problems and gaps in services and fill them.
Yeah, I love that so much. I mean, I that it's so important, and we are national. We're actually global. So when you're ready to go global, let me know too. We'll have you back for part 2. But nationally, this is so important for every woman listening in every state. We've actually helped some schools and some other nonprofits go more national just through this community because we have women all over. So if they're interested in actually boots on the ground where they're living all over the United States, what would be their next step?
Please visit our website, and our info at selflesslovefoundation.org is there. And we have a number of different ways they can get involved. We have different campaigns throughout the year. I had mentioned the furniture campaign. Tonight, we have a statewide virtual graduation. So again, there's virtual things that we do that they can log on. It's just, we have our dream tank that we also stream. So there's a number of ways that they can get involved. So just be sure to reach out to us at info@selflesslovefoundation.org.
Okay, for sure. I love all of this. This has been such a great conversation. The very last question I want to ask you is, do you have a question for me? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I always ask at the end, do you have a question for me?
So if you could go back in time, what would you change to be a different person you are today?
Well, the first answer that comes to my mind is I would not change anything.
I love that.
Yeah, I would not change anything. All the pain, shame, trauma, drama, all the things that have molded me and made me into the woman that I am today, I would never change anything because of how confident and strong and incredible I feel right now as a woman. It's a beautiful 47-year-old woman with 2 daughters that are 17 and 20.
Oh my God.
But if I actually were to speak to my younger self, I would make sure that she knew that all of the times that she was worried about what other people thought, all of the things that made her feel unworthy, or all of the times that she was so worried about things, I would just be like, chill out.
Yeah.
God's got you.
100%.
God's got this. And nobody really cares outside of the people that should care. And so just keep going. So all those hours that you just worry that you shouldn't, I just feel like I'm living in that now where I'm like, okay, moving on. I can't, I always say to my daughters, if you have to explain yourself more than 2 times to somebody, just say, thank you so much. It was really nice to meet you, but I don't think we're supposed to be connected. You know what I mean? We should be around women and people that build us up, lift us up, and call out the greatness, nothing else. And so if you're around somebody that you have to constantly defend yourself or explain yourself, thank you so much. It was so nice to meet you, but we're not meant to be partnered up right now in this season because we have so much to do in this life. And the fuel comes from being around people that are like, yes, you go, girl. What else do you need? Who else do you need? And I just love being a super connector. I love being able to connect hearts and people because that's how people do things. I'm like, let's not delay this. Let's get this going, So it's just been really fun. I feel like even in my late 30s and all through my 40s so far, it's just to be around women like that, it just multiplies faster. And it's just really amazing. And I can just tell you're one of those women. I cannot wait for Live Out Loud and Love Out Loud to partner with Selfless Love and a lot of love going around. So thank you so much again. This was such a good podcast and it was such a good information session for women that are listening saying, hey, I want to give more. I want to impact more. I want to really be a part of this. And so I just want to say thank you so much. You shared so much today.
Well, thank you. And I completely agree. I always say birds of a feather flock together. Yes. And I'm super grateful to be flocking with you in the Live Out Loud community. And I know it's just the beginning.
Definitely. Well, if you loved this episode, make sure that you share it with a friend and let us know. Tag us back on Instagram and we'll tag you back. And we cannot wait to hear what you think. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Before you go, I have something really special for you. My brand new book, Activate Your Impact, A Guide to Living Out Loud in Business, Life, and Faith, is officially an international bestseller, and I want you to get your hands on it. If you're ready to break free from fear, build with bold faith, and walk confidently in your God-given calling, this book was written for you. Inside, I walk you through 12 powerful activations to help you step into your purpose, expand your influence, and finally live the abundant life God prepared for you. And when you grab your copy, guess what? I have, of course, 3 incredible free bonuses too. I have been getting so much feedback about all of the bonuses in this book. I'm so grateful to share this with you. Your next level of impact is waiting. Do not wait. Click the link in the show notes below or just search Activate Your Impact on Amazon to get your copy today.